When you choose to live life on your own terms, the first and most important step is to break free from limitations and expectations that have been placed on you. From the time we are children, society, family, culture, and even peers begin to shape what we believe is possible for us. We are told what careers are safe, what dreams are realistic, and how we should behave to gain acceptance. These invisible walls can feel like truth, but in reality, they are just opinions and limitations created by others. Living confined by those boundaries means you are not living your life, you are living someone else's version of it. To take control, you must start questioning these beliefs and asking yourself if they truly reflect who you are and what you want. The moment you stop living for others and start honoring your own vision, you step into freedom. Breaking free doesn't mean ignoring advice or dismissing wisdom from others. It means not letting their expectations become chains around your potential. Many people never chase their deepest desires because they are afraid of judgment, criticism, or failure. They worry about disappointing their family or not fitting into what society views as successful. But if you silence your own voice just to satisfy everyone else, you pay the highest cost. You lose yourself. Imagine reaching the end of your life realizing you never pursued the dreams in your heart because you were too busy trying to please everyone else. That regret is far more painful than the temporary disapproval of others. You were not born to live according to the rules others wrote for you. You were born to create your own path. To break free, you must first identify the limiting beliefs you've accepted. Maybe you've told yourself you're not smart enough, not talented enough, or that it's too late to start. Those aren't truths. They are just stories, often inherited from the environment you grew up in. The human spirit has limitless capacity when fueled by vision and persistence. History is full of people who broke away from the expectations of their time, entrepreneurs who ignored the doubters, artists who went against traditions, leaders who stood up when everyone else stayed silent. They became examples because they chose authenticity over approval. You carry that same potential, but it requires courage to step out of the box you've been placed in. Another trap of expectations is comparison. When you measure yourself against others, whether it's their lifestyle, career, or possessions, you place yourself under pressure to meet standards that have nothing to do with your own journey. Breaking free means realizing you are not in competition with anyone but yourself. Your pace, your path, and your progress are uniquely yours. Some people may run ahead, others may fall behind, but none of that matters if you are true to where you are going. The only person you should strive to be better than is the person you were yesterday. That mindset frees you from the endless cycle of chasing approval and allows you to focus on what truly fulfills you. It's also important to recognize that expectations don't only come from others, they often come from within. Sometimes we are our own harshest critics, holding ourselves to impossible standards and beating ourselves down when we fall short. True freedom comes when you release the need for perfection and embrace progress instead. Every step you take towards living authentically is a victory, no matter how small. Allow yourself room to make mistakes, to learn, and to grow without shame. The people who create meaningful lives are not the ones who never failed. They are the ones who refuse to let failure define them. Breaking free from limitations requires bold decisions. It may mean leaving a job that no longer aligns with you, ending relationships that drain your energy, or saying no to opportunities that look good on the surface but don't resonate with your soul. These choices aren't always easy, and they often come with resistance from those who don't understand. But remember, people who try to keep you in a box are often projecting their own fears. They may not have the courage to chase their dreams, so they discourage yours. That doesn't make them bad people. It simply means you can't allow their fears to direct your future. When you begin to live authentically, something powerful happens. You inspire others to do the same. People see your courage, your commitment to yourself, and it gives them permission to question their own limitations. You create a ripple effect that encourages freedom in others. Living on your own terms isn't selfish. It's actually one of the most generous things you can do, because it shows the world what's possible when someone decides to honor their truth. So breaking free is not just about rejecting limitations. It's about stepping into a bigger vision for yourself. It's about saying yes to your calling, even if it scares you, and no to the voices that try to shrink you. Life is too short to be lived in chains of expectation. The people who matter will celebrate your authenticity, and those who don't were never meant to define your path. You owe it to yourself to live fully, boldly, and unapologetically. When you break free, you don't just live life. You truly begin to live. Discovering your true voice and authentic self is one of the most important steps toward creating a life that is fulfilling and meaningful. Too many people spend years living as a reflection of what others expect them to be, hiding behind masks that were never theirs in the first place. They learn to speak in ways that are acceptable, to act in ways that gain approval, and to chase goals that are celebrated by society but have little to do with their own happiness. This cycle creates a life of quiet frustration, where deep inside you know something is missing, even though on the outside everything may appear fine. The truth is, your authentic self is always present within you, but it takes courage to strip away the layers of conditioning, fear, and doubt to hear your true voice clearly. Once you find it, your life begins to feel aligned, purposeful, and free. The journey of self-discovery begins with self-awareness. You must ask yourself the difficult questions. Who am I beyond my titles, my job, or my roles? What brings me joy when no one else is watching? What values matter most to me? These questions strip away the noise of the world and bring you closer to the core of who you are. Too often, we define ourselves by what we do rather than who we are. But your true identity is not your job, your possessions, or even your achievements. It is the essence of your spirit, the unique energy that makes you different from every other person on the planet. When you reconnect with that essence, you begin to live authentically, making decisions that reflect your true values rather than those imposed by others. Part of finding your authentic self is learning to trust your intuition. Deep down, you already know when something feels right or wrong, when an opportunity excites you or drains you, when a relationship helps you grow or keeps you stuck. The problem is that many people silence that inner voice because they fear making mistakes or because they've been taught to always rely on external approval. But your intuition is a compass that will never fail you if you learn to listen. It is the whisper that tells you when to move forward, when to walk away, and when to take a leap of faith. Reconnecting with it requires quieting the noise, spending time in reflection, journaling, meditating, or simply being still long enough to hear yourself think. In that stillness, your true voice begins to emerge. Living authentically also means embracing your uniqueness without apology. For too long, people try to fit into molds that were never meant for them, suppressing their quirks, their passions, or their natural way of being. But your individuality is not something to be hidden. It is your greatest gift. Every breakthrough in history has come from someone who dared to be different, who chose not to conform, and who expressed their truth unapologetically. Your authenticity may not please everyone, and that is perfectly fine. The goal is not to be universally accepted. It is to be true to yourself and attract those who resonate with your genuine spirit. Of course, living authentically requires vulnerability. It means showing up as you are, even when you are imperfect, even when you are uncertain, and even when others may not understand. Vulnerability is not weakness. It is the greatest strength you can demonstrate because it shows that you value truth over image. When you begin to live this way, you will notice that your relationships deepen. People are drawn to authenticity because it is rare in a world full of pretenses. By being yourself, you give others permission to drop their masks as well, creating connections that are real and meaningful. One of the biggest challenges in discovering your true voice is overcoming fear, the fear of judgment, rejection, or failure. But the cost of silencing your voice is far greater than any risk of speaking your truth. Every time you ignore your authentic self, you shrink a little inside. Every time you choose silence over honesty or conformity over courage, you disconnect further from your soul. The only way to truly honor yourself is to act in alignment with your truth, even if it means walking alone at times. The right people, opportunities, and experiences will always find you when you are authentic, because you are no longer attracting what others want for you. You are attracting what is meant for you. Discovering your true voice is not a one-time event. It is an ongoing journey. As you grow, as you evolve, as you gain new experiences, your understanding of yourself deepens. Your authentic self is not static. It expands as you do. That is why it's so important to remain open, curious, and willing to explore new layers of who you are. With every step, you come closer to living a life that feels natural, effortless, and fulfilling because it is rooted in truth. Ultimately, when you discover and honor your true voice, you step into a life of freedom. You no longer chase validation or live in fear of opinions. Instead, you move forward with clarity, confidence, and peace, knowing that the life you are building is yours and yours alone. This is what it truly means to live life on your own terms, when your outer world begins to reflect the voice of your inner world. That is where joy, fulfillment, and purpose are found. Redefining success on your own terms is one of the most liberating and empowering choices you can make in life. For most people, success has been defined for them long before they ever have the chance to think about it. Society tells you success means wealth, status, titles, or recognition. Family may pressure you to pursue a career that provides security rather than fulfillment. The culture around you might glorify material possessions or external validation as the ultimate sign of achievement. But the truth is, none of these definitions matter if they don't align with what genuinely fulfills you. Success should never be about meeting someone else's expectations. It should be about creating a life that feels meaningful to you. When you redefine success, you take back the power to decide what kind of life is worth living. The problem with adopting society's definition of success is that it often leads to emptiness. Many people achieve everything they thought they wanted, the money, the job, the recognition, yet still feel unfulfilled. They climb the ladder only to realize it was leaning against the wrong wall. That emptiness is a signal that they were chasing a version of success that was never truly theirs. Redefining success means stepping off that treadmill of comparison and asking yourself, what does success look like for me? Is it peace of mind, freedom of time, meaningful relationships, creative expression, or contribution to others? The answer will be different for everyone, and that's exactly the point. Success is personal, not universal. One of the most powerful aspects of defining your own success is the freedom it gives you from constant comparison. When your definition of success is aligned with your values, you no longer feel the need to measure yourself against others. For one person, success may mean building a multimillion-dollar company, while for another, it may mean having the time to pick up their kids from school every day. Both are valid if they reflect what truly matters to the individual. The danger lies in assuming that someone else's version of success should be your own. As soon as you let go of comparison, you gain clarity, focus, and peace. You stop chasing things that look good on the outside but feel empty on the inside, and you start building a life that resonates with your soul. Redefining success also requires you to shift your mindset from outcomes to alignment. Traditional definitions of success often emphasize results: how much you earn, what you own, or what recognition you receive. But true success is not just about outcomes. It's about whether those outcomes align with your values and purpose. For example, earning a large income doing something you hate may look like success to others, but internally it feels like failure because it disconnects you from joy. On the other hand, earning a modest income doing something you love may not impress the world, but it will fulfill you every single day. When you focus on alignment instead of approval, you redefine success in a way that guarantees long-term satisfaction. Another important part of this process is recognizing that success evolves. What feels like success in your 20s may not be the same in your 40s or 60s. Life changes, your priorities shift, and your vision grows as you gain new experiences. That's why it's so important to regularly check in with yourself and ask, does this still feel like success to me? If the answer is no, it's time to redefine again. There is no shame in changing your path. In fact, it's a sign of growth. Success is not a fixed destination. It's a living definition that grows with you. When you redefine success, you also free yourself from the weight of other people's opinions. Some may not understand why you chose a certain path, and some may even criticize your choices. But the measure of true success is not how many people approve of you. It's how at peace you are with yourself. The people who matter will respect your choices because they see the fulfillment it brings you. And those who don't were never meant to define your journey. At the end of your life, the opinions of others won't matter. What will matter is whether you lived a life that was true to you. Ultimately, redefining success is about shifting from living a life of should to a life of want. It's about letting go of the script that was handed to you and writing your own. It may not look conventional, it may not impress everyone, and it may not fit the mold of what the world glorifies, but it will feel real. And that feeling of authenticity, of waking up each day knowing you are building a life you truly desire, is the highest form of success there is. The courage to say no and protect your boundaries is one of the greatest strengths you can develop if you truly want to live life on your own terms. Far too many people live in constant exhaustion, frustration, or resentment because they have allowed their lives to be shaped by the demands of others. They say yes to things they don't want to do, take on responsibilities that drain them, and sacrifice their own dreams in order to avoid disappointing someone else. While it may feel easier in the moment to say yes, the long-term cost is enormous. Every time you agree to something that goes against your values or robs you of energy, you are quietly saying no to yourself. Learning to reverse that pattern and honor your boundaries is not selfish. It is necessary for your happiness, your growth, and your freedom. Boundaries are the invisible lines that protect your time, your energy, your mental health, and your emotional well-being. Without them, life quickly becomes overwhelming because there will always be endless demands from work, family, friends, and society. Saying no is not about rejecting people. It's about protecting the space you need in order to live authentically. When you have clear boundaries, you are able to focus on what truly matters to you rather than being pulled in every direction. Without boundaries, you may achieve things, but they will be things that matter to others, not necessarily to you. Boundaries allow you to redirect your energy towards your vision, your goals, and your values. One of the main reasons people struggle to say no is fear. They fear rejection, criticism, or being labeled as selfish. They worry that people will stop liking them or that they will let someone down. But the truth is, every time you say yes to something you don't want, you are betraying yourself. And that betrayal is far more damaging than disappointing someone else. The people who truly love and respect you will understand your no. Those who don't respect it are often those who benefited from your lack of boundaries. In other words, saying no does not push away the right people. It reveals who actually belongs in your life. Courage is needed because saying no can feel uncomfortable at first. You may have spent years as a people pleaser, always trying to keep the peace or gain approval. But courage is not the absence of fear. It is acting in alignment with your truth despite the fear. Every time you say no to something that doesn't align with you, you strengthen your ability to protect your space. Over time, it becomes easier, and you begin to realize how empowering it feels to take control of your life. You start to see that saying no is not closing doors. It is opening the right ones because you are creating space for what truly matters. Protecting your boundaries also means being clear about your values. If you don't know what you stand for, it becomes easy to get swayed by the requests and opinions of others. But when you are rooted in your values, decisions become simpler. For example, if health is one of your priorities, it becomes easier to say no to habits, environments, or commitments that compromise your well-being. If family time is a value, you will have no guilt in turning down opportunities that take you away from loved ones. Clarity brings power, and boundaries are simply the expression of that clarity in your daily life. Another misconception is that boundaries push people away. In reality, they strengthen relationships. When you set boundaries, you teach others how to respect you. You show them what is acceptable and what isn't. This creates healthier dynamics because relationships built on guilt, obligation, or people pleasing are never truly fulfilling. The relationships that matter will grow stronger when you are authentic about your needs because authenticity builds trust. People know where you stand and they know your yes is genuine, not forced. Saying no also frees up your most valuable resource, time. Time wasted on things that don't align with you is time stolen from your dreams, your passions, and your growth. When you learn to say no, you take back ownership of your time and energy. You are able to invest in things that give you life instead of things that drain you. This shift creates momentum, because every no to what doesn't matter becomes a yes to what does. And when you consistently make decisions that reflect your values, your life begins to align with the vision you hold for yourself. Ultimately, the courage to say no is the courage to honor yourself. It is choosing authenticity over approval, freedom over guilt, and purpose over pressure. Protecting your boundaries does not make you cold or selfish. It makes you wise enough to recognize that your energy is sacred and must be directed with intention. When you master this skill, you no longer live at the mercy of other people's demands. You live by your own design, and that is what it truly means to live life on your own terms. Embracing risk, growth, and uncertainty is at the heart of living a life on your own terms. The truth is, nothing worth achieving comes without stepping into the unknown. Yet most people spend their lives avoiding risk, choosing safety and comfort over possibility and expansion. They cling to what is familiar, even when it no longer fulfills them, because it feels secure. But the cost of that false sense of security is stagnation. You cannot grow if you are unwilling to step outside your comfort zone. You cannot create a life that excites you if you are only willing to repeat what you already know. To live fully, you must embrace uncertainty not as something to fear, but as the natural environment of growth. Every major transformation in life begins with risk. Think about the people you admire, the entrepreneurs who built empires, the artists who created timeless works, the leaders who changed history. None of them achieved greatness by staying comfortable. They took chances, faced setbacks, and walked into the unknown with courage. What separates them from those who never realize their potential is not talent or luck, but their willingness to embrace uncertainty and keep moving forward despite it. Risk is the gateway to reward, and growth is the reward of every risk you take. The fear of uncertainty is deeply rooted in human nature. We crave predictability because it makes us feel in control, but life was never meant to be predictable. It was meant to be lived. Playing it safe may protect you from failure, but it also protects you from success. It shields you from disappointment, but it also shields you from joy. The irony is that no path is truly safe. Even the so-called secure route comes with risks. Jobs can be lost, opportunities can vanish, relationships can change. Since risk is unavoidable, the real question is not whether you will face it, but whether you will face it with intention. Will you choose risks that move you closer to your vision, or will you remain trapped in the illusion of safety while life passes you by? Growth demands that you stretch yourself beyond what feels easy or familiar. Each time you step into the unknown, you discover strengths you didn't know you had. You build resilience, adaptability, and confidence, not by thinking about growth, but by experiencing it. Mistakes and failures are part of this process, but they are not signs that you should quit. They are signs that you are trying, learning, and evolving. Every failure carries a lesson, and those lessons eventually shape the wisdom that guides you to success. The people who grow the most are not those who never fall, but those who fall and rise again, stronger and more determined than before. Uncertainty can feel uncomfortable, but it is also where possibility lies. When everything is certain, nothing new can emerge, but in uncertainty, the future is wide open. It is in uncertainty that breakthroughs happen, opportunities appear, and creativity thrives. If you embrace uncertainty with curiosity instead of fear, it becomes an adventure. You begin to see life not as something to endure, but as something to explore. This shift in perspective allows you to welcome challenges as opportunities for growth rather than obstacles to avoid. Another important truth is that risk and growth are deeply personal. What feels risky to one person may feel comfortable to another. Your journey is unique, and your risks don't need to look like anyone else's. For some, taking a risk might mean starting a business. For others, it might mean speaking up in a meeting, pursuing a passion project, or leaving a toxic relationship. What matters is not the size of the risk, but the courage it takes for you personally to take it. Every time you stretch yourself, no matter how small the step, you grow. Living life on your own terms means embracing the reality that certainty is an illusion. You cannot control every outcome, but you can control your choices, your actions, and your mindset. If you are willing to risk being uncomfortable, you gain access to opportunities that comfort could never provide. Growth is never found in the easy path. It is found in the challenges that demand more of you than you thought you had to give. And each time you rise to the challenge, you expand your capacity to create the life you want. Ultimately, embracing risk, growth, and uncertainty is about trusting yourself. It's about believing that no matter what happens, you have the ability to handle it, to learn from it, and to keep moving forward. That trust becomes the foundation for confidence, resilience, and freedom. Instead of waiting for the perfect moment, which never comes, You create your own moments by stepping boldly into the unknown. And it is in those moments where risk meets courage that life begins to open up in ways you never imagined. Designing a life of fulfillment, not approval, is the ultimate destination when you choose to live on your own terms. Too many people spend their lives chasing validation, hoping that external approval will finally make them feel successful, worthy, or complete. They make choices not because those choices bring them joy, but because they believe those choices will earn them recognition. They measure their lives through the eyes of others instead of through the lens of their own heart. But here is the truth. No amount of approval can fill the emptiness that comes from ignoring your authentic desires. True fulfillment only comes when you live in alignment with your values, passions, and purpose, regardless of how others view it. Approval is fleeting, but fulfillment lasts a lifetime. The trap of seeking approval is subtle but powerful. It begins early in life when we are rewarded for doing what others expect of us, and criticized when we deviate from the norm. Over time, we internalize the belief that our worth is tied to how much we please others. That conditioning follows us into adulthood, where we may choose careers, relationships, or lifestyles that look good on the outside but feel hollow on the inside. The applause may come, but when the noise fades, we are left questioning why we feel unfulfilled. That is the cost of living for approval. It robs you of authenticity and leaves you constantly chasing more, never satisfied. Designing a life of fulfillment begins with turning inward. Instead of asking, "What will people think?" the better question is, "What will make me feel alive?" Fulfillment is deeply personal, and it looks different for everyone. For some, it might mean pursuing a creative passion. For others, it might mean building a family, serving others, or traveling the world. There is no single definition, and that is what makes fulfillment powerful. It is yours to define. When you stop basing your worth on what others think and start asking yourself what truly matters to you, you begin to build a life that nourishes your soul. Approval is about performance, but fulfillment is about presence. When you chase approval, you are always striving, always waiting for the next compliment, the next promotion, the next round of applause. Your joy becomes conditional on something outside of yourself, something you cannot control. Fulfillment, however, comes from within. It is found in the quiet moments of knowing you are living in alignment with your truth. It is not about impressing others, but about honoring yourself. This shift is powerful because it allows you to experience peace even when no one is watching, and joy even when no one is clapping. Of course, choosing fulfillment over approval is not always easy. It requires courage because you may face criticism or misunderstanding from those who don't share your vision. But remember, you were not born to fit into everyone's idea of success. You were born to create a life that feels authentic to you. The voices that criticize are often coming from people who are too afraid to break free from their own approval, seeking patterns. When you choose fulfillment, you give them an example of what is possible. You show them that there is another way to live, one that is not controlled by external validation but guided by inner truth. Another key to living a fulfilled life is understanding that fulfillment is not about grand achievements alone. It is about daily alignment. It is about the small choices you make every day that reflect your values. It could be as simple as spending time with loved ones, pursuing a hobby you enjoy, or setting boundaries that protect your peace. Fulfillment is not waiting for a future milestone to make you happy. It is finding meaning in the present moment. When you design your life around what truly matters, fulfillment becomes a daily experience rather than a distant goal. It is also important to recognize that fulfillment is sustainable, while approval is temporary. The praise of others may fade, the recognition may be forgotten, but the inner satisfaction of living authentically remains. That is why some of the most content people are not the wealthiest or most famous. They are those who built lives aligned with their deepest values, even if the world never noticed. Fulfillment is about quality, not appearance. It is about depth, not surface. Ultimately, designing a life of fulfillment over approval is an act of self-love. It is the decision to prioritize your peace, your joy, and your purpose above the fleeting opinions of others. It is the recognition that your life belongs to you, and the only person who needs to be satisfied with it is you. Approval might bring short-term applause, but fulfillment brings long-term freedom. When you choose fulfillment, you stop chasing the shadows of other people's expectations and step into the light of your own truth. And in that light, you will find not just happiness, but wholeness,